Conservatives are traditionalists who realize that just because something is new, it doesn't mean it's better. And when people rush into something new or try to reinvent the wheel, they often fall victim to the law of unintended consequences. Like when incandescent light bulbs were replaced by more energy-efficient LED bulbs to help save electricity and reduce carbon emissions. But in areas with a cold climate, the snow can easily collect on traffic lights. And since LED lights don't give off a lot of heat like the old incandescent ones, the snow doesn't melt and sometimes completely obscured the lights at intersections, causing massive traffic problems. You've likely experienced updating your phone or computer's operating system to the newest and best software only to find major glitches that the developers overlooked, which needed to be fixed with another update that they had to frantically release. The same kinds of chaos occurs when liberals try to overturn the natural social order and norms that the human race has been following since the beginning of time. Marxists despise these practices because they despise everything normal. They're bitter and spiteful people who want to ruin others' lives because they themselves are miserable. Like the fat girl at school who hates the lead cheerleader just because she's pretty and popular, or someone who keys the paint on a nice car they see parked on a street because they're envious of the owner. They're like the 3-pack-a-day smoker coughing and wheezing from walking up a flight of stairs who then throw a fit when they're told that if they quit smoking, it would really help. Liberals are in denial about their dysfunctional beliefs and behavior, and no matter how polite or well-intentioned the criticism or advice is, they just get angry when people resist going along with them. But their problems aren't just affecting themselves. They're making society dysfunctional from their insistence that everyone else accept and celebrate their craziness, laziness, and personal problems. And people who aren't afflicted with such disorders often cater to those who are in order to win over their political support, to feed their appetites for power. Liberals are gullible and easy to manipulate, so Democrats cater to dumb and lazy people since the party has shifted from once supporting the working class to supporting those who don't want to work and who are just looking for handouts. The sheer number of people who don't have the dedication to go to work every day or aren't responsible enough to hold down a job is scary. And through social media, they can easily connect with each other and organize online mobs and form them in the real world as well. It's how communism took over China and other countries. The mobs organized and eventually became too powerful to resist. So we have to stop them here before it's too late. But because of their viciousness, they scared many people into silence. Widespread cowardice on our side, earlier when the Marxists were weaker, is what got us here and allowed the left to transform much of the United States into an almost unrecognizable dystopia. Many old conservatives championed small government and were afraid to use its power for our own purposes because they wanted to stay principled by not using the levers of government at all, and instead took a laissez-faire approach. And it's been a losing strategy when facing an opponent who uses every possible means to win, while conservatives sit on the sidelines and complain about how the left doesn't play fair. We have to push or drag Republican lawmakers and political pundits into the right direction by bombarding them with questions, evidence, and arguments, and help them see things our way. Because, let's be honest, most of them have either been asleep at the wheel or sold us out for a ride on the government gravy train or cushy jobs in the mainstream conservative media. One of my goals, particularly with my books, is to move the Overton window, which is the spectrum of ideas about social issues and public policy that are seen as acceptable by the general public. There are a lot of pressing issues that the Republican Party, conservatives, and Christians had been afraid to talk about for years since they had gone soft. And while people are finally starting to get some guts, we have to continue working to restore conservatism by popularizing the necessary terminology, concepts, and arguments to the masses. I want people to be as well-rounded as possible when it comes to media literacy. I am a media analyst, after all. Everyone should know about the social impact agencies in Hollywood, the lobbying groups which work to have their clients' messages inserted into the storylines of popular shows and movies, disguising political propaganda as mere entertainment. Something I detailed in my book, Hollywood Propaganda: How TV, Movies, and Music Shape Our Culture. Everyone should know the basic facts about Operation Mockingbird and how the war on fake news was launched as a smokescreen immediately after Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election in order to begin rolling out massive censorship on social media. Something I documented in my book, The True Story of Fake News, which came out in 2017 and has aged like fine wine since then. We should never forget how, under the guise of the bogus war on fake news, the big tech platforms completely changed the way that they function, and how they came to manipulate their algorithms to artificially boost content that reinforces their agenda while systematically suppressing and censoring those who oppose it. And how before that, social media was a completely different ecosystem than mainstream media, but then they merged and now work in conjunction with it. If you've read my books, then you know the rabbit hole goes much deeper, and even though some of the topics are familiar, each one provides a wealth of knowledge and can help the readers gain a much better understanding of how the interconnecting relationships between media, culture, and power function. Books are one of the best forms of spreading knowledge, even in the so-called digital age or the information age, or rather, especially in the information age, because there is too much information and too many different sources trying to constantly bombard us with messages. People are drowning in information and have a difficult time sifting through it to find quality and meaningful content, while avoiding all the useless drama, pop culture gossip, propaganda, and scams. We need to free ourselves from the digital sewage pipe that directs most people's attention. We don't need to be slaves to whatever hit show is on HBO or trending or whatever new series Netflix or Hulu just launched. We need to manage our media diets the same way that we watch what foods we eat. We also need to come to grips with the very real possibility that we may be living in a collapsing empire. Politically, financially, intellectually, and morally. There are so many delusional lunatics running around America, and the Marxists have embedded themselves into so many positions of power, and they have showed us over the last few years that they're willing to destroy our entire country in hopes of gaining and maintaining power. It's going to be very difficult to repair the damage that they've done to our country and our culture. Trump winning the election again is fantastic. Having control of both the House and the Senate and a majority in the Supreme Court is a godsend. And so far, the left has been pretty much stunned into silence. They're still trying to come to grips with what happened. It's obvious that many of them drank too much of their own Kool-Aid, and at this point, we know many of them are beyond insane. So it's highly unlikely that they'll come back to being normal Democrats. Remember after the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, how the media toned down their attacks and their dangerous rhetoric against him? And for us, about a week, maybe a week and a half, and then they went off the rails again during their big October surprise just before the 2024 election, rehashing their Trump is Hitler hoax and claiming his rallies were reenactment of Nazi rallies from the 1930s. The Democrat Party and the entire liberal media industrial complex have broken all the rules of a civil society. They've shown their hand. We all know what they've done. And it's up to us to never let the American people forget. We have to take advantage of this tremendous victory, politically and culturally, if there's any chance of restoring America. While we won the battle, a big one, the war continues. If you enjoy watching my serious monologues like this, then you'll really enjoy reading my books, like The War on Conservatives, which you should order in paperback or hardcover now from Amazon.com. Or download the ebook from any of the major ebook stores. And of course, there's a link to the Amazon listing in the description below. So click it and head on over there and check it out.